The morning air was thick with tension at the Riverside Music Conservatory. Students lined the hallway outside the grand audition room, each one clutching sheet music with sweaty palms. Some paced back and forth, others sat with their eyes closed, fingers moving silently as if playing invisible keys. Today wasn't just any audition. Today, Maestro Victor Brenner was choosing students for his legendary masterclass. Victor Brenner wasn't just any piano teacher. He was the Victor Brenner, the man who had played in concert halls across 5 continents, the pianist whose recordings sold millions, the teacher whose former students now performed at Carnegie Hall and the Sydney Opera House. Getting into his masterclass meant your future in music was practically guaranteed. Being rejected meant you probably weren't good enough for a serious career in classical piano. 16-year-old Lily Zhang sat quietly near the end of the hallway, her golden retriever guide dog Beethoven resting his head on her lap. She could hear everything. The nervous chatter, the scales being hummed under breath, the confident laugh of a boy who kept announcing he'd been playing since he was 2 years old. The sound of expensive shoes clicking against marble floors as parents paced, more anxious than their own children. Lily's mother squeezed her hand. "You're going to do beautifully, sweetheart. What if he doesn't even let me play?" Lily whispered back. Her mother didn't answer right away, and that silence told Lily everything. They both knew what could happen. What had happened before at other auditions. The uncomfortable pauses. The quick dismissals. The barely hidden pity in people's voices when they said things like, "Maybe music isn't the right path for you, dear." The door to the audition room opened, and a girl walked out crying. Her father's arm was around her shoulders, and Lily heard him say, "He didn't even let you finish the piece." "That man is ruthless." Lily's stomach twisted. Beethoven sensed her anxiety and nuzzled against her hand. "Number 47, a sharp voice called from inside the room. Lily's mother checked the number on their registration paper. "That's you, honey." Lily stood up, her white cane unfolding with a familiar click. Beethoven rose beside her, the service dog vest rustling softly. Her mother guided her to the doorway, then squeezed her shoulder. "I'll be right here when you're done." Lily stepped into the room and immediately felt the change in atmosphere. The hallway had been warm with body heat and nervous energy. This room felt cold, spacious, the kind of place where every sound echoed. "Oh, for heaven's sake," a man's voice said. It was cultured, with a hint of an accent she couldn't quite place. "Tell me this is a joke." Lily froze. Beethoven pressed against her leg protectively. "Mr. Brenner, this is Lily Zhang," a woman's voice said nervously, probably an assistant. "She's registered for today's auditions." "I can see that, Patricia. What I'm asking is why we're wasting valuable time here." Lily felt her cheeks burn. She knew that tone. She'd heard variations of it her whole life. Sometimes people tried to hide it behind politeness, but this man wasn't even trying. "Sir, she's been approved for accommodation under our inclusion policy," Patricia said quietly. "Inclusion policy," Victor repeated, and Lily could practically hear him rolling his eyes. "Is that what we're calling it? This is a masterclass for serious musicians, not a feel-good charity event." "I don't have time to babysit." Someone else in the room laughed. Probably another judge or assistant. Lily's hands gripped her cane tighter. "I can play," she said, her voice smaller than she wanted it to be. "I'm sure you can play something," Victor said dismissively. "Mary had a little lamb, perhaps?" "Look, young lady, I appreciate whatever inspirational story you're living, but this masterclass requires sight-reading complex pieces, learning new material quickly, and performing at a professional level. No offense, but you're simply not equipped for that." "I've prepared a piece," Lily insisted, her voice stronger now. "May I at least try?" She heard Victor sigh dramatically. "Fine. Patricia, how many more do we have today?" 12 after this one, sir." "Then let's make this quick. 2 minutes. If you can demonstrate actual technique in 2 minutes, I'll listen to more. If not, we move on." "Fair enough." It wasn't fair at all, but Lily nodded. "Where's the piano?" "Straight ahead about 12 steps, Patricia said kindly. "Would you like me to guide you?" "Beethoven can do it," Lily said. She gave the command, and her dog led her forward. She could feel the space opening up around her, could sense the size of the room by the way sound moved through it. Her cane touched something solid. The piano bench. "The dog is sitting in on the master class too, I suppose," Victor said to scattered chuckles. Lily ignored him. She'd spent her whole life learning to ignore people like him. She settled Beethoven beside the bench with a quiet command, then sat down. Her hands found the keys cool and smooth under her fingertips. This was a good piano. She could tell by the weight of the keys, the way they felt under her touch. Probably a Steinway. What will you be playing? Patricia asked. Rachmaninoff, Lily said. Piano Concerto No. 2, third movement. The room went silent for a moment, then Victor laughed. Actually laughed out loud. You're joking. That piece is brutal even for advanced students who can see the keys. It requires precision, power, and perfect timing. You're going to attempt that blind? I've been practicing it for 8 months, Lily said simply. 8 months. How delightful. I've been playing piano for 40 years, and I still find new challenges in Rachmaninoff. But please enlighten us. This should be entertaining if nothing else. Lily took a deep breath. Her heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. Her hands were shaking. She thought about leaving, about standing up and walking out with whatever dignity she had left. She thought about all the other auditions where she'd been dismissed before playing a single note. But then she thought about something else. She thought about the first time she'd heard this piece. She was 7 years old, 3 years after losing her sight to the infection that had stolen her world of colors and faces. Her father had been playing a classical music station while cooking dinner, and suddenly this music had filled their tiny apartment. It was powerful and delicate at the same time, full of passion and pain and hope all mixed together. What is that? She'd asked, standing up from the table. Rachmaninoff, her father had said. Piano Concerto No. 2. I want to play that someday. Her father had gotten quiet. Then he'd said, Then you'll play it, Lily. Whatever it takes. Now, sitting in this cold room with this cruel man waiting for her to fail, Lily placed her fingers on the keys. She closed her eyes even though it made no difference. And then she began to play. The first notes rang out clear and strong. Her left hand established the rhythm, while her right hand began the melody that had lived in her heart for 9 years. The piece started somewhat gently, almost questioning, and Lily let her fingers speak the language she'd memorized note by note, measure by measure, through countless hours of practice on the old keyboard in her bedroom. The room had gone completely silent except for the music. Lily couldn't hear Victor's mocking voice anymore. She couldn't hear anyone breathing or shifting in their seats. There was only the piano and the music and the story she was telling with her hands. The melody flowed from Lily's fingers like water finding its path down a mountain. Each note was exactly where it needed to be, not a millisecond too early or too late. Her hands moved across the keyboard with a confidence that seemed impossible for someone who couldn't see what she was doing. Victor had stopped mid-eye roll. His arms, which had been crossed in obvious impatience, slowly lowered to his sides. He took a step closer to the piano, his head tilting slightly as if he couldn't quite believe what he was hearing. Patricia, his assistant, had her hand over her mouth. The other 2 judges in the room, a violin instructor and the conservatory's director, leaned forward in their seats. The piece was building now. What had started gently was growing in power and complexity. Lily's left hand was doing things that required years of training, establishing a rhythm that was both steady and flexible, providing the foundation for the increasingly intricate melody her right hand was weaving. Her fingers stretched across octaves with perfect precision, never fumbling, never hesitating. She could feel it happening, that magical thing that only happened when everything came together perfectly. It was like the piano became part of her body, an extension of herself. She wasn't thinking about which keys to press anymore. She was thinking about the story the music was telling, the longing in the ascending scales, the determination in the powerful chords, the brief moments of gentleness before the storm of notes that followed. This was the section that had taken her 3 months to master. Her right hand had to dance across the upper register, while her left maintained the driving rhythm below. Most pianists could see their hands, could watch their fingers to make sure they landed in the right place. Lily had something different. She had muscle memory so deep it was carved into her bones. She had spent so many hours with this piece that her hands knew the geography of the keyboard better than most people knew their own neighborhoods. The music swelled. This was the part that always gave her goosebumps. The melody reached upward, climbing higher and higher, full of hope and passion and something that felt like flying. Her whole body moved with the music now, swaying slightly, her face showing every emotion the composition demanded. In the audience seats, Victor's expression had transformed completely. The mocking smirk was gone. The impatience had vanished. He was watching Lily with an intensity that bordered on disbelief. His trained ear caught every nuance, every subtle dynamic change, every perfectly executed trill. This wasn't just memorization. This was interpretation. This was artistry. But something else was happening inside Victor. Something he didn't want to acknowledge. A small uncomfortable feeling was growing in his chest. It felt uncomfortably like shame. The piece was reaching its most technically demanding section now. Lily's hands were flying, playing passages that required absolute precision at considerable speed. Her fingers were striking the keys with exactly the right amount of force, creating the powerful sound the piece demanded without becoming harsh or mechanical. It was the kind of playing that only came from natural talent combined with countless hours of dedicated practice. Patricia glanced at Victor, trying to read his expression. She'd worked for him for 5 years and had never seen him look quite like this. He almost looked hurt? No, that wasn't quite right. He looked like someone who had just been proven wrong about something he'd been absolutely certain of. The music was building to its climax now. This was the moment Lily loved most, where everything came together in a rush of sound that felt like breaking through into sunlight after a storm. Her hands moved faster, the notes cascading like a waterfall, each one crystal clear despite the speed. The melody soared above the driving rhythm, triumphant and joyful and absolutely fearless. And then with a final powerful chord that rang through the silent room, it was over. Lily's hands lifted from the keys. She was breathing hard, her heart racing from the intensity of the performance. Beethoven's tail thumped softly against the floor beside her, the only sound in the completely silent room. The silence stretched on. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3. Lily's stomach dropped. She'd played it perfectly, she knew she had. Every note had been right. But the silence felt heavy and somehow wrong. Were they angry? Was Victor going to yell at her for wasting even more of his time? How long? Victor's voice finally cut through the silence. It sounded different now, quieter. The mocking tone was completely gone. I'm sorry, Lily said, confused. How long have you been playing piano? Since I was 3 years old, Lily answered. Her voice shook slightly. My grandmother taught me. She used to play in China before she immigrated. And your sight? Victor asked. The question was direct but not unkind. I lost it when I was 5. There was an infection. The doctors tried everything, but Lily trailed off. She'd told this story so many times that it felt worn smooth like a stone rubbed by a river. Victor was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice had an edge to it that wasn't anger exactly, but something else. Who taught you this piece? Which instructor? I taught myself, Lily said simply. That's impossible. The technique required for Rachmaninoff at this level requires professional instruction. Years of it. Who was your teacher? I'm telling you the truth, Lily said, a bit of defensiveness creeping into her voice. After I lost my sight, my parents couldn't afford a professional teacher anymore. The medical bills were too expensive, so I learned by listening. By listening, Victor repeated flatly. Yes. I have recordings of almost every major piano piece ever performed. I listen to them over and over until I can hear every note in my head. Then I practice until my hands can recreate what my ears remember. It takes longer than learning from sheet music, I guess, but it works. How many pieces have you learned this way? The conservatory director asked. She sounded genuinely curious. Lily thought about it. Maybe 200? I'm not sure exactly. I don't really keep count. Someone in the room let out a low whistle. Patricia was shaking her head in amazement. Victor walked closer to the piano. Lily could hear his footsteps, could sense him standing just a few feet away from her. When he spoke, his voice was controlled, but there was something tight in it. Something that sounded almost like anger. Miss Jiang, what you just played demonstrated technical proficiency that most of my advanced students haven't achieved. Your interpretation showed genuine musical understanding. Your execution was, I'll admit, nearly flawless. Lily felt a tiny spark of hope ignite in her chest. Nearly flawless. That was practically a compliment from Victor Brenner. But then he continued and the spark died. However, this masterclass requires more than the ability to memorize and regurgitate pieces, no matter how impressively you do so. It requires sight reading. It requires the ability to learn new complex pieces quickly. It requires collaboration with other musicians, which demands visual cues and coordination. These are things that, through no fault of your own, you simply cannot do. The hope that had flickered in Lily's chest turned to ice. What you've accomplished is remarkable, Victor continued, and now his voice had that careful, distant politeness that Lily hated more than outright rudeness. You clearly have talent and dedication, but this program is designed for students who can meet very specific technical demands. I'm sure there are other musical opportunities more suited to your particular situation. Programs specifically designed for musicians with disabilities, perhaps. Lily stood up from the bench, her movements stiff. So that's it? I'm not good enough because I can't see? I didn't say you weren't good enough, Victor said. I said you're not suitable for this particular program. That's the same thing, Lily said quietly. Patricia stepped forward. Lily, your playing was truly beautiful. Perhaps we could help you find— I don't need help finding something else, Lily interrupted, her voice cracking slightly. I needed a chance at this. Just this one thing. She gave the command for Beethoven to stand. The dog immediately moved into position, ready to guide her. Lily's hands were shaking as she folded her cane. She'd known this might happen. She'd prepared herself for rejection, but somehow playing her best and still being told no hurt worse than she'd expected. Thank you for your time, she managed to say, though the words felt like glass in her throat. As Beethoven guided her toward the door, Victor watched her go. His jaw was clenched tight, his hands clasped behind his back. Patricia looked at him with barely concealed disapproval. Sir, she was extraordinary, Patricia said quietly. You know she was. Victor didn't respond. He just stood there, watching the door close behind Lily, his expression unreadable. Outside in the hallway, Lily's mother immediately knew from her daughter's face what had happened. She wrapped her arms around Lily without saying a word. And there, in the marble hallway of the Riverside Music Conservatory, with other hopeful students watching, 16-year-old Lily Jang cried. Lily didn't want to talk about it. Not in the car ride home, not during dinner that night when her father kept asking if she was okay. Not when her younger brother tried to cheer her up by playing her favorite movie. She just wanted to forget the whole thing had ever happened. But the universe had other plans. 3 days after the audition, Lily's mother got a phone call while they were eating breakfast. From the way her voice changed, Lily knew something was wrong. I see. Yes, I understand. No, we haven't seen it yet. Thank you for letting us know, Mom, Lily asked when the call ended. What's going on? Her mother was quiet for a long moment. That was Patricia, Victor Brenner's assistant. She said we should know that there's a video of your audition online. Apparently one of the other students recorded it. Lily felt her stomach twist. What? Why would someone do that? She said it's getting a lot of attention. People are sharing it. Can I see? Her brother asked. He was already pulling out his phone. Kevin, maybe we should— Their mother started, but Kevin was faster. Oh, wow, he said, his eyes wide on the screen. Lily, this has like 500,000 views already. What? Lily nearly choked on her orange juice. Kevin started reading. The caption says, Blind teenager plays Rachmaninoff perfectly. Watch what the famous pianist says to her afterward. There are thousands of comments. Read some, Lily's father said quietly. Kevin scrolled. Okay, this one says, this girl is incredible. That pianist should be ashamed of himself. And this one, I'm literally crying. How dare he reject her? Oh, here's one with a lot of likes. Victor Brenner just showed the world who he really is, and it's not pretty. Lily sat very still. Her brain was trying to process what was happening. Her audition, her most humiliating moment, was out there for everyone to see. Hundreds of thousands of people were watching her play, watching her get rejected. There's more, Kevin continued. Someone else posted it on Instagram with even more views. And it's on Twitter too. People are really angry at Victor Brenner. Let me see, their father said, taking the phone. He was quiet as he scrolled, his expression growing more serious. Lily, sweetheart, this is going viral. Major news sites are picking it up. Look, here's an article. Acclaimed pianist faces backlash after rejecting blind teen. Over the next few days, the story exploded. It seemed like everyone online had an opinion about what had happened in that audition room. The video had been watched millions of times. Music websites ran think pieces about accessibility in classical music education. Disability rights advocates shared the video as an example of discrimination. Even celebrities started commenting on it. Lily's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Reporters wanted interviews. Other music schools were reaching out, offering her scholarships. A famous violinist tweeted about her, calling her playing absolutely stunning and heartbreaking. Someone started a petition demanding that Victor Brenner apologize, and within 2 days it had over 100,000 signatures. But not all the attention was positive. Some people online defended Victor, saying he had the right to accept whoever he wanted in his masterclass. Others argued that accommodating blind students would lower the program's standards. A few cruel comments said she was just using her disability for sympathy. Lily tried to ignore it all. She stopped checking social media. She didn't read the articles or watch the news segments, but it was impossible to escape completely. Kids at school knew about it. Teachers looked at her with a mixture of pity and admiration. Strangers recognized Beethoven on the street and asked if she was that blind piano girl. 1 week after the video went viral, Lily received an email that made her mother cry. It was from the London Academy of Music, one of the most prestigious conservatories in the world. They'd seen her playing and wanted to offer her a full scholarship. 2 days later, another offer came from a school in Vienna, then one from New York. "This is amazing, Lily," her mother said, reading through the emails. "These are incredible opportunities." But Lily felt numb. "I don't want opportunities because people feel sorry for me. I wanted to earn it." "You did earn it," her father insisted. "These schools saw your talent, not your disability." Lily wasn't so sure. Would these schools have reached out if the video hadn't gone viral? Would they have noticed her at all, if she hadn't become some kind of symbol for people to rally behind? Meanwhile, Victor Brenner was facing the consequences of his decision. Sponsors started pulling out of his concerts. Students were dropping out of his current masterclass in protest. The conservatory where he taught was getting hundreds of angry emails every day. His social media accounts were flooded with criticism. Some venues were canceling his upcoming performances, not wanting to be associated with the controversy. Patricia called Lily's mother again. "He's not doing well," she said quietly. "The board is threatening to terminate his position. His reputation is being destroyed." "I thought you should know." Part of Lily felt a grim satisfaction at hearing this. He'd humiliated her after all. He'd dismissed her talent because of something she couldn't control. Why shouldn't he face consequences? But another part of her felt uncomfortable. She'd never wanted to ruin someone's career. She'd just wanted to play piano. The breaking point came 2 weeks after the video went viral. Lily and her mother were at the grocery store when a woman approached them in the produce section. "You're Lily Zhang, aren't you?" the woman asked. Lily tensed. "Yes. I just want you to know that you're an inspiration. My daughter has cerebral palsy, and seeing how you fought back against discrimination has given her so much courage. Thank you for being brave." After the woman left, Lily turned to her mother. "I wasn't being brave. I was just trying to audition for a class." "I know, honey," her mother said gently, "but sometimes we become symbols of something bigger than ourselves, whether we want to or not." That night, Lily sat at her keyboard in her bedroom, Beethoven sleeping at her feet. She hadn't practiced much since the audition. Music had always been her escape, her joy, the one place where being blind didn't matter. But now it felt complicated and heavy. She placed her fingers on the keys and started playing something simple. A piece by Chopin that she'd learned when she was 10, slow and melancholy and beautiful. As she played, she felt some of the tension in her chest start to ease. This was why she played. Not for viral videos or scholarship offers or to make a statement about discrimination. She played because music was the language her soul spoke. It was how she understood the world, and how the world could understand her. The next morning, she made a decision. "I want to do an interview," she told her parents at breakfast. They looked surprised. She'd been refusing all interview requests for 2 weeks. "Are you sure?" her father asked. "I'm sure. But I want to do it on my terms. I want to talk about what really matters." 3 days later, Lily sat in front of cameras for the first time in her life. The interviewer was kind, asking her about her music and her dreams rather than just focusing on the drama with Victor. "What do you want people to understand about you?" the interviewer asked near the end. Lily thought carefully before answering. "I don't want to be famous for being blind. I don't want to be the girl who got rejected. I want to be known for my music. That's all I've ever wanted. Just the chance to share what I can do with my hands and have people listen to the music, not the story behind it." "And what would you say to Victor Brenner if he were watching this?" Lily paused. She'd thought about this question a lot over the past 2 weeks. I'd say that I understand why he made the decision he made. His masterclass has certain requirements and he didn't think I could meet them. Maybe he was wrong, but I don't think he was trying to be cruel. He was just doing what he thought was right for his program. She took a breath. But I'd also tell him that he missed an opportunity. Not just to teach me, but to challenge his own assumptions about what's possible. Because limitations are often in our minds, not in reality. The interview aired 2 days later. It was viewed over 3 million times in the first 24 hours. The comment section filled with people praising Lily's grace and maturity. Several articles ran with headlines, like "Teen Show's Remarkable Wisdom in Response to Rejection." But the most unexpected response came from someone Lily never thought she'd hear from. Again, Victor Brenner posted a video statement on his social media accounts. In it, he sat at a piano looking tired and older than he had at the audition. "I owe Lily Zhang an apology," he began, his voice rough. "Not because of public pressure, but because I was wrong." And with those words, everything changed again. Victor Brenner's hands rested on the piano keys as he looked into the camera. His usual confident posture was gone. He looked like a man who hadn't slept well in weeks. "I've spent the last 2 weeks reading comments, watching my career fall apart and feeling angry at the world for not understanding my position," he said slowly. "But last night I watched Lily Zhang's interview. I watched it 3 times, actually. And each time I felt smaller and smaller." He paused, seeming to gather his thoughts. "When Lily walked into that audition room, I saw her disability before I heard her talent. I made assumptions about what she could and couldn't do based on my own limited imagination. And when she proved those assumptions wrong with her playing, instead of admitting I was mistaken, I doubled down on my prejudice. I wrapped it in professional language about program requirements and technical demands, but the truth is much simpler. I was wrong and I was too proud to admit it." Victor's voice cracked slightly. "What haunts me most is that Lily's playing reminded me of why I fell in love with music in the first place. Before the concert halls and the accolades and the reputation, I was just a boy who found magic in piano keys. Watching her play, I saw that pure love of music, and instead of honoring it, I dismissed it. I dismissed her." He looked down at the piano. "This instrument doesn't care if you can see it. It responds to touch, to feeling, to the soul behind the fingers. Lily Zhang understands that better than I do, and she's 16 years old. That should tell you everything about who the better musician is between us." The video ended with Victor making a simple statement. "Lily, I know I have no right to ask for your forgiveness, but I hope someday I might have the chance to apologize to you in person. You deserved better. You deserve better." Lily watched the video in her living room with her parents. When it ended, she sat in silence for a long moment. "What do you think?" her mother asked gently. "I think he means it," Lily said quietly, "but I don't know if that changes anything." What Lily didn't know was that Victor had done more than just post an apology video. Behind the scenes, he'd been making phone calls. Lots of them. 2 days after his video went public, Patricia called again. "Lily, I know this is unexpected, but Mr. Brenner would like to meet with you. In person, just to talk. No cameras, no pressure. He has something he wants to discuss with you." Lily's first instinct was to say no, but something in Patricia's voice made her pause. "What does he want to discuss?" "He wouldn't tell me everything, but I can say this much. He's been working on something for the past week. Something big, and he wants your input before he moves forward with it." After talking it over with her parents, Lily agreed to meet, but she insisted it be in a neutral location, not the conservatory. They settled on a small cafe near Lily's house, one she'd been going to since she was little. The day of the meeting, Lily was nervous. Beethoven sensed it and stayed closer to her than usual. When they arrived at the cafe, Patricia met them at the door. "He's at the corner table," Patricia said. "And Lily? Thank you for coming. I think this might be important." Victor stood when Lily approached. "Miss Zhang, thank you for agreeing to see me. Please sit down." Lily sat, Beethoven settling at her feet. Her parents had offered to come in with her, but she'd asked them to wait outside. Whatever this was, she wanted to handle it herself. "I won't waste your time with more apologies," Victor began. "You've heard enough of those. What I want to do is tell you about a realization I had." He paused, and Lily heard him pour water into a glass. The sounds in the cafe painted a picture for her. The hiss of the espresso machine, the quiet murmur of other conversations, the clink of cups on saucers. "After your audition, I couldn't stop thinking about what you said, that you taught yourself by listening to recordings. That you've learned 200 pieces that way. Do you know what that tells me? That I have too much free time? Lily said, a hint of humor in her voice despite herself. Victor let out a short laugh. It tells me that traditional music education is failing an entire group of talented people. We teach from sheet music because that's how it's always been done. But music existed long before written notation. Musicians learned by ear for thousands of years. And here you are proving that the old ways still work. Maybe even work better for some people. Lily wasn't sure where this was going. Okay. I've spent the past week talking to educators, disability rights advocates, and musicians who are blind or visually impaired. I've learned about the barriers they face, the assumptions people make, the opportunities they're denied. And I've realized something. I'm in a position to change that. Not everywhere, not for everyone, but somewhere, for some people. He leaned forward and Lily could hear the intensity in his voice. I want to create a new program, a summer intensive specifically designed for talented young musicians with visual impairments. It would use audio-based learning methods, tactile notation systems, and technology that's already being developed but never gets implemented. The curriculum would be just as rigorous as any traditional program, but it would be built around how you actually learn, not how I think you should learn. Lily felt her heart skip. You want to create a program for blind musicians? Not just for blind musicians. A program that proves blind musicians can compete at the highest levels. That removes the barriers we've built and shows what's possible when we stop limiting people based on our own lack of imagination. Why are you telling me this? Lily asked. Because I don't want to create another program that makes assumptions about what you need. I want to build something with input from people who actually understand the challenges. And because, if you're willing, I'd like you to be part of the first class. Not out of pity or charity or public relations, but because you're exactly the kind of musician this program should serve. Someone with genuine talent who's been held back by a system that wasn't designed with them in mind. Lily sat back in her chair. This was not what she'd expected. I already have scholarship offers. From schools in London, Vienna, New York. I know, Patricia told me. And you should absolutely consider those. They're incredible opportunities. But this program would be different. It would be specifically designed to help you and musicians like you not just survive in classical music, but thrive. To give you every tool and technique that would put you on equal footing with any sighted musician. Equal footing, Lily repeated. You mean accommodations? No, Victor said firmly. I mean advantages. The ability to memorize by ear the way you do, that's not a limitation. It's a skill most musicians struggle with their entire careers. Perfect pitch, which many blind musicians develop, is something others would kill for. The deep listening skills required to learn the way you learn, that creates a level of musical understanding that's rare. This program would build on those strengths instead of treating them like weaknesses to be worked around. Lily was quiet, processing. Outside, she could hear cars passing by. Inside, someone was laughing at another table. Normal life continuing while her own life seemed to be shifting under her feet. I need time to think about this, she finally said. Of course. Take all the time you need. But Lily, there's one more thing. Victor's voice softened. This isn't about redemption for me. I can't undo what I did in that audition room. But maybe I can make sure it never happens to another talented kid like you. Maybe I can take the worst moment of my career and turn it into something that actually matters. After the meeting, Lily's parents asked her how it went. He wants to create a program for blind musicians, she said, and he wants me to be part of it. Her father whistled low. That's big. Yeah, Lily agreed. But I don't know if I trust him. What if this is just about fixing his reputation? Her mother squeezed her hand. Only you can decide that, sweetheart. But I'll say this. Sometimes people surprise us. Sometimes they grow. That night, Lily couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Victor's words. About a program designed around how she actually learned. About being taught by someone who finally understood that different didn't mean less. But she also thought about the humiliation in that audition room. The mocking tone. The dismissive words. Could she really learn from someone who'd hurt her like that? She was still awake at 2 a.m. when her phone buzzed. It was an email. From the Riverside Music Conservatory. She had Beethoven guide her to her computer so she could hear the email read aloud properly. It was an invitation. The conservatory was hosting a charity concert in 3 months. All proceeds would go to funding the new program Victor was creating. and they wanted Lily to be the featured performer. "The world needs to hear what you can do," the email read. "Not as a viral video, but as the artist you are. Will you play for us?" Lily sat back in her chair, her heart pounding. This was it. The choice that would determine everything that came next. Lily stared at her email for 3 days before responding. Her finger hovered over the keyboard dozens of times, ready to type yes, then pulling back. Ready to type no, then hesitating again. "What's holding you back?" her brother Kevin asked one evening. They were sitting in the living room and Lily was supposed to be doing homework but kept getting distracted. "I don't know," Lily admitted. "Part of me wants to do it. To show everyone what I can really do on a real stage, not just in a viral video. But another part of me is scared." "Scared of what?" "Scared of letting him off the hook too easily. Scared that people will think I'm okay with what he did. Scared that I'll mess up and prove he was right about me after all." Kevin was quiet for a moment. "Can I tell you something? That video of you playing, I've watched it like 50 times. And every single time I feel proud. Not because you got rejected and everyone felt sorry for you, but because you sat down at that piano and you were absolutely fearless. That's who you are, Lily. You're not the girl who got rejected. You're the girl who played Rachmaninoff like it was as easy as breathing." Lily felt tears prick her eyes. "When did you get so wise?" "I'm your little brother. I've been paying attention." That night, Lily wrote her response. Yes, she would perform at the concert. But on one condition. She wanted to choose what she played, and she didn't want anyone telling her it was too difficult or too ambitious. This was her moment, and she was going to own it. The next 3 months were a whirlwind. Lily practiced 6 hours a day, sometimes more. She worked with a piano tuner who helped her understand the specific instrument she'd be playing on, visiting the concert hall 3 times to get familiar with its particular sound and touch. She collaborated with an audio engineer who created custom recordings to help her rehearse with the orchestral part she'd be performing alongside. And, surprisingly, she started working with Victor. Their first session was awkward. Victor arrived at her house and they sat at her family's old upright piano in uncomfortable silence for a full minute before anyone spoke. "I don't know how to do this," Victor finally admitted. "I've taught hundreds of students, but I've never taught someone the way you learn. I'm going to make mistakes. Then we'll figure it out together," Lily said simply. And they did. Victor learned to describe musical concepts through sound and feeling instead of visual metaphors. Lily taught him about the way she memorized pieces, the patterns she felt in her hands, the way she could hear the architecture of a composition in her mind. They argued sometimes. Victor would suggest a technique, and Lily would show him why it didn't work for her. Then she'd demonstrate her own method, and Victor would sit back, amazed at how effective it was. "You know what's humbling?" Victor said during one session, about a month before the concert. "Realizing that I've been teaching piano the same way for 30 years, and in 6 weeks a 16-year-old has shown me completely new approaches I never imagined. Does that bother you?" Lily asked. "It should," Victor said. "But honestly, it's the most excited I've felt about music in years." As the concert date approached, the publicity grew intense. News outlets ran stories about Lily's upcoming performance. The conservatory had to move the concert to a larger venue because ticket demand was so high. Some people criticized the whole thing as a publicity stunt. Others celebrated it as a moment of redemption and change. Lily tried to tune it all out. She focused on the music, on getting every note perfect, on understanding not just how to play the pieces, but why they mattered. She'd chosen to perform 2 pieces. First, the same Rachmaninoff concerto from her audition, but this time with a full orchestra. And second, a piece she'd been working on in secret, something even Victor didn't know about yet. The night before the concert, Lily couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, Beethoven snoring softly at her feet, running through the pieces in her mind. Her fingers moved against the blanket as if playing invisible keys. "You ready?" her father asked at breakfast the next morning. Lily thought about it. "I don't know if anyone's ever really ready for something like this, but I'm as prepared as I can be." The concert hall that evening was packed. Over 2,000 people filled the seats. Lily waited backstage, listening to the sound of the crowd, the tuning of instruments, the buzz of anticipation. Her hands were sweating. Her heart felt like it might beat right out of her chest. Patricia came to check on her. "The orchestra is ready. Victor is introducing you in 5 minutes. How are you feeling?" "Terrified," Lily admitted. "Good," Patricia said with a smile in her voice. That means you care. That means this matters. On stage, Victor walked to the microphone. The crowd quieted. 3 months ago, he began, I made one of the biggest mistakes of my career. I let my prejudice and narrow-mindedness blind me to extraordinary talent standing right in front of me. Tonight is not about me seeking forgiveness. Tonight is about showcasing the kind of artist that deserves to be heard. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lily Zhang. The applause was thunderous. Lily walked onto the stage with Beethoven guiding her, and the sound of all those people clapping made her feel like she was walking through a storm. When she reached the piano bench, she asked Beethoven to settle beside her, just like at the audition. Some things were tradition now. The orchestra was arranged around her, the conductor waiting for her signal. Lily placed her hands on the keys, took a deep breath, and nodded. The first notes of the Rachmaninoff filled the concert hall. But this time was different from the audition. This time she had the power of a full orchestra behind her. The strings swelled around her melody. The brass punctuated the dramatic moments. The percussion drove the rhythm forward. And Lily, sitting at the center of it all, played with a confidence she'd never felt before. This wasn't about proving anyone wrong anymore. This wasn't about the viral video or the controversy or the rejection. This was about the pure joy of making music with other people, of being part of something bigger than herself. The piece built to its soaring conclusion, and when the final chord rang out, the audience erupted. People jumped to their feet. The applause went on and on. Lily could hear people cheering, crying, celebrating, but she wasn't finished. She held up her hand, asking for quiet. The crowd settled down, curious. Thank you, Lily said into the microphone that had been set up beside the piano. That piece is special to me for obvious reasons. But I'd like to play one more thing tonight, something I wrote myself. A murmur went through the crowd. Victor, sitting in the front row, leaned forward in surprise. When I was learning piano, people kept telling me about all the things I couldn't do. I couldn't sight read. I couldn't learn quickly enough. I couldn't collaborate with other musicians effectively. And for a long time, I believed them. I thought maybe there was a ceiling to what was possible for someone like me. She turned toward the piano. But then I realized something. The limitations weren't in me. They were in the way people were trying to teach me. This piece is called Beyond Sight. It's my way of saying thank you to everyone who saw past my disability and recognized my ability. And it's my promise to myself that I'll never again let someone else's limited imagination define what I can achieve. She began to play. The composition was unlike anything anyone expected. It started soft and uncertain, like the questions Lily had carried her whole life. Then it grew stronger, building confidence with each measure. It incorporated elements from different musical traditions, weaving them together in unexpected ways. There were moments of darkness, acknowledging the pain of rejection and doubt, but they always resolved into light, into hope, into the kind of joy that comes from pushing past barriers that shouldn't have existed in the first place. The piece ended with a single, clear note that hung in the air like a question mark, like a beginning instead of an ending. For a moment, the hall was completely silent. Then the applause began again, somehow even louder than before. But this time, Lily heard something else mixed in with it. She heard people sobbing. She heard genuine awe in the way the crowd responded. This wasn't applause born from pity or social media outrage. This was respect, recognition, the kind of response every artist dreams of receiving. Backstage afterward, Lily was surrounded by people. Musicians wanting to talk to her about her technique. Composers asking about her creative process. Young students, some blind, some sighted, asking for advice and inspiration. And then through the crowd came Victor. He didn't say anything at first. He just stood there. You wrote that piece in 3 months? He finally asked. 2 months, actually, Lily said. I wanted to surprise you. Victor laughed, and it sounded different than Lily had ever heard him laugh before. It was lighter somehow, more genuine. You know what the worst part is? That piece was technically brilliant. The composition was sophisticated. The performance was flawless. And all I can think is that if I'd accepted you into my masterclass 3 months ago, I would have tried to teach you to play like everyone else. I would have tried to fit you into a box, and the world would have missed out on whatever unique voice you're developing. So what do we do now? Lily asked. Now? Victor smiled. Now we build that program, and we make sure no other talented kid gets turned away because of assumptions and outdated methods. And we let you keep growing into whatever kind of musician you're meant to become, without anyone telling you what you can't do. 6 months later, the first summer intensive for visually impaired musicians opened with 12 students from around the world. Lily was the teaching assistant, helping design curriculum and mentor younger students. Victor was there too, still learning, still growing, still being challenged by students who saw the world differently than he did. The audition video was still online. It had been viewed over 20 million times now, but when people found it, they no longer just saw a story about rejection and prejudice. They saw the beginning of something bigger, a moment that sparked real change. Lily never forgot the feeling of sitting in that audition room, being dismissed before she'd barely played a note. But she also never forgot the feeling of standing on that concert stage, playing music she'd written herself, proving that the only real limitations are the ones we accept. And every time a new student joined the program, nervous and uncertain and hoping for a chance, Lily made sure to tell them the same thing. Your disability doesn't define what you can do. Your dedication does. Your talent does. Your refusal to accept someone else's limits does. Now let's make some music.